welcome to the Thriller Zone. I'm your host, David Temple, and on today's show, I'm joined by the wickedly talented Andreina Cordani. She's an author who knows exactly how to turn Christmas cheer into chilling suspense, and her new novel, Murder at the Christmas Emporium, takes us into a glittering London department store where luxury, nostalgia, and danger collide. It's part locked room mystery, part psychological puzzle, and entirely impossible to put down. Andreina's background as a journalist gives her stories that's razor-edge realism. Her characters feel as if you might have stood behind them in line at Selfridges, never guessing what they're capable of. We're talking about the seductive power of secrets, the dark side of the holiday season, and why sometimes the most dazzling places hide the deepest shadows. So pour a mug of something strong, plug in those fairy lights, and join me as we unwrap Murder at the Christmas Emporium with the brilliant Andreina Cordani. I like your sweater, very festive.
No, I've lost the hair.
Oh, I don't know. It looks pretty good. All right.
Well, your podcast, loads of fun anyway. I've been listening to it, and yeah, you have a great time, don't you?
I do. Thank you so much for saying that. And I'm amazed at how many people will come on the show and they go, what's the name of the show again?
You actually read the books too. I mean,
I know, right? It is an occupational hazard. Now, what has happened is, Andreina, if I can say this, is it's been at, what is this? I'm at 4.5 years now. And, Daddy needs to spend more time on his books.
yeah.
Daddy's working on his right now. I don't know why. I love talking about myself in the third person.
In the third person. It's a writer thing, I think. Yeah, okay. If you're saying you haven't read the book, that's fine.
No, I have.
Okay, cool.
I love it. And matter of fact, let's go ahead and start right now. Welcome to the show, Andreina.
Hello.
You know what I loved about we're talking about Murder at the Christmas Emporium. I love how it starts off and it's like, everything is so lovely and charming. Yes. And all of a sudden, things go awry.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've got so much to say about this. First of all, who in the wide world of sports does not like a good bookstore? Right?
Yeah, I absolutely love a good bookstore. Obviously.
My wife and I were
They're
just...
my friends.
I know. It's like the best place to hang out as long as they serve coffee.
Place.
So my wife and I were up in, we went to London recently. My very first time. Loved it.
Oh, cool.
God, I love London. I'm like, I loved it so much when we came back. I said, we may have to have a second home there. I loved it that much.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Most people can't afford a first home there, unfortunately.
Well, I'm going to do my best. Anyway, here's my point.
Yeah, you do your best.
We went to 2 bookstores. God, I really wanted to impress you that I would remember the names. Something Stone, Gladstone, Heartstone. Waterstone.
Yeah. That's basically, I'm trying to think of the equivalent.
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to lead with that, but I'm going to say my favorite was a place called, starts with an F. My wife has the memory.
Foyles.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's Foyles on Charing Cross Road is one of the biggest bookstore. Well, it was the biggest bookstore in the country for a long time. It used to be run by quite an eccentric lady who had very particular ways of running things. But she's not with us anymore, and and now it's still just like this enormous kind of temple of books just off Charing Cross Road. Charing Cross Road is the best place for bookstores in London, definitely.
There is something I'm gonna get to your book, so bear with me. But I'm sharing some backstory because first of all, the people are so lovely. I found myself apologizing that I was an American so many times.
Well, the apologizing is very British, so you're fitting right in.
Oh, okay. Well, it had to do with politics, which I won't go into right here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but there was one more store. Starts with it's another F. It's a huge department store. Or was it a V? Anyway, very fancy. Great restaurant downstairs where we got a thank you, Fordham and Mason.
Yeah.
That,
Might have
that's
heard of
my,
that one. Yeah.
that's my wife in the next room. Anyway, reason I love all these stores is a bit unlike those in America. You feel like you're stepping into an adventure. And this is what I'm getting at. When I read this book, it was all that nostalgia that I remember when I was a kid, when mom would take us to bookstores and it was on a Saturday and they'd say, okay, we have like $3 and this is your allowance and you can get
Oh,
anything you want in the store.
$3.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
honey, that was a long time ago. Okay. We won't say that's, it's,
Yeah, we'll draw a veil over that. That's fine.
yeah. But the point being is, we went right to the books, of course, but then the toys would get our attention. But this reminded me of that, the charm of the Christmas holidays and all that stuff. But then on top of that, folks, and this is what I loved about it so much, then you start going down this dark rabbit hole.
Yeah,
So
it gets pretty dark.
the Emporium is a character in and of itself in the story. That's what I loved about it. It's I'm thinking about just so many different bookstores I've gone through. So it's lush, it's inviting, it's a little bit claustrophobic. So what I want to start out of the gate with, what's your process in designing that space? And how did you balance that magical toy shop wonderland with that feeling of creeping
Doom.
horror? Yeah, that's like in beneath the decorations.
That part of the job was absolutely massive fun. I really enjoyed it. And I think I had a head start because I decided right at the beginning that I wanted there to be lots of Victorian clockwork toys, and nothing's as creepy like Victorian clockwork toys. They are super creepy. So for those readers that don't know the premise of the book, there are 7 strangers have been invited to an exclusive shopping event on Christmas Eve at this very famous store that's it's reopened in a big sort of fanfare, and there's like a Willy Wonka type owner, and these 7 VIPs have been invited, but then when they start to they have a wonderful evening and then they fall asleep, and then when they wake up they can't leave the store and there's a body in Santa's grotto. So it gets dark fast. But it's kind of like creating the Emporium was the most fun ever because I could throw in my creepy automata, I could chuck in a ghost story. I love chucking a ghost story, and I could also have lots of kind of dark corners. I had actual gaslights, and I had this Willy Wonka type owner of the store who I just had really good fun creating because he's just really annoying.
Montague Verity, I loved him. I was going to say Willy Wonka too, because there's something that, there's charming and then sinister. You feel like a cross.
But that's what Wonka's like, yeah.
I know.
I always felt Gene Wilder freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy's just gone up a pipe and you're singing about the world of pure imagination. That's just freaking me out.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, when you made a comment about the clocks, it reminds me of those really creepy ass dolls, those porcelain dolls with the eyes that go twink, twink, twink. And then I think about like the Stephen King story where you have a clown that, who doesn't like a clown until the clown does that little funky, and you're like,
I think pop culture has ruined clowns now. and dolls too.
Yeah. Yeah, when you have a serial killer that's known as a clown, you know that you've jumped the shark, right? All right. So I love how by the way, I wanted to say this, folks, in case you're worried that maybe it feels a little Saw-esque, it's not as dark as Saw. I remember the first time I saw that first Saw, and I'm like, all right, who came up with this craziness? And then they're like 8 or 9 or 10 in, but
yeah.
So
that's not my scene at all. No.
Yeah, that ain't your jam. No.
No.
Now, let's talk about the thread of like past histories and secret connections, flashbacks. You reveal these layers of betrayal that kind of shift the genre. And anybody who can take a genre that you think, oh, no, I got this. And then you turn it on its head and you're like, oh, well, I didn't see that coming. So at what point did you decide that it would be more fun than just this festive whodunit?
I just can't resist a flashback.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love, because all my characters are awful. I mean, even the protagonists are pretty flawed. And but I was cursed / blessed or whatever with this feeling that I can always see the good in people. That makes me sound really saccharine, but I'm not. But I mean, I just like these people anyway, even though they're awful. And I just wanted to sort of delve more into their histories, and it was actually good to break away from that scene as well, because they're stuck in this department store the entire time.
Yeah.
And it was nice to kind of be able to break out from it and travel back to the roots of their demise, really, and figure out what they've done wrong, or what they had done to bring them to the Emporium that night. And it's much better to do it in flashbacks. I find much more effective and more fun to kind of walk around in their shoes for a bit, than to have them explaining it or telling the story in dialogue, because that just becomes long and drawn out, and and also you're seeing it through the lens of that person telling the story in dialogue, rather than what they actually the sneaky things they were actually doing that they don't want to admit to.
It's so funny. I think about how many movies, and we're coming up on the holidays, so you see all these movies that take place in department stores and all the hijinks that ensue. But this, folks, is this one's a little bit different. And this, I know the book has been released for quite some time. It's been by the time this show airs, which will be a couple of weeks from now, I want to kick off the holiday with this. I'm going to kick off December with this show, because I just think it's a great way to start the holidays. Although some people would say, well, Dave, the day after Thanksgiving really starts the holidays. Or if you watch mass media, the Christmas trees are going up the day before Halloween.
The day after Halloween, yeah. I was in San Diego one year for Halloween, and then the next day I went to a shopping mall, and it was full of little animatronic Santas. And they must have, like the elves, must have been out overnight filling the shopping mall with all the little Santas.
Well, if it was San Diego, they were either sipping on some nice West Coast IPA,
little surfboards,
or doing some other little habits that would entice creativity. But yeah, we're
surfing. You mean surfing, don't you?
Surfing is what I meant, of course, with a board. So your characters respond to this VIP shopping event. The idea that someone knows all their dark secrets is central. So this is when I realize, Andrea, what a real psychopath. I'm sorry, what a creative individual you are. Because it's like, how do they know the inner dark secrets? That creep factor right there is just delicious. So, what was your process of choosing? Let's go with, what kinds of secrets to explore? Did you draw inspiration from real life observations of how people curate their image at Christmas, or did you just go into the twisted closet? Called your mind.
Twisted closet. No, I kind of. It's like the most obvious one I can explain is Fran's secret, but nobody knows Fran's secret at the beginning, so I don't want to do it because the spoilers. But I listen to a lot of podcasts about this particular subject, and it always fascinates me. And to be honest, all of the characters really fascinate me. I'm really interested in liars. I find it really hard to lie myself. And even though I make up stuff for a living.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're kind of a professional liar, aren't you?
Professional liar. But in my day-to-day life, I find it really hard to keep secrets. I find it really hard to lie. I feel the need to explain everything all the time. And just this idea of people living a pretense or putting up a false front, or, being an out-and-out con person, those sort of things really intrigue me. And so I went down a rabbit hole, and there's obviously so many different ways that people can lie and so many deceptions and everything. And a lot of them are deceiving themselves as much as anything else. And it was the lying really that I suppose drew me in, and the manipulation as well, because that's a common theme in the book, is there's lots of manipulation going on.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said that I did not think of two particular people in my past. I won't say their names, Richard, and starts with an A, but they were, what would you call, pathological liars, kind of con men to the nth degree. And I always found this
fascinating.
Right. And which is more fascinating? The fact that they go through life doing that, or the fact that they go through life doing that without thinking they're doing anything wrong?
Yeah, because they never admit it. They would never, like, you know, if you see these people, you know, you watch true crime documentaries or whatever, and these people are now in jail and they are still saying, no, I didn't do that thing. That wasn't me. And, you know, they've been convicted of it, and, you know, their accounts were found to be stuffed with money or whatever. I just like, because I always want to know what makes them do it, and they are never going to tell you because they don't really know themselves. They're just driven to do it.
I'm going to go back to Montague. Was he originally conceived as a showman turned, I'd call it showman turned predator, or did that evolution? And I'm just curious. The reason I ask certain questions is I just love breaking shit down. I love trying to figure out, all right, where did she come up with that? And what was the mechanism there? And what was her fascination with that particular thing? So I'm really trying to figure out, did you originally pop in your head showman turned predator, or really more just kind of, oh, well, he started out charming and nice and sweet, and then I just had him evolve into a real whack job?
I don't even know if he is a real whack job. But I think readers can make up their own minds. But I think you're sort of, I do love the way you talk about this, because it implies that I did something on purpose. Yeah, like there was all a grand master plan. The other thing is, I started writing about the Emporium, and originally it was just going to be the shoppers, and then the staff just disappear, you know, and then they can't find anyone. But then that was like he just, as soon as I started writing him, it added so much more menace to the beginning of the story. And it added, you know, there's a lot of the problem with whodunits, when, you know, the kind of whodunits where you're trapped with a killer, and someone's picking you off one by one, is that, yes, a lot of the characters are awful, but there's no antagonist. And I think Monty was like a really fun kind of sort of semi-antagonist to have at the beginning, where, like, my main character Mary obviously dislikes him on sight, because he's just so annoying. Sorry, I'm just being reminded of a joke that made me take out. But he was
what was the joke? Please do.
It was a silly joke, but he had like this, he was nagging her all the way through in the first draft, and he kept calling her Bob. He was saying, hello, Bob. Come here, Bob. Oh, well, Bob was looking upset now, and it was just driving her more and more nuts. And eventually she says, like, why do you call me Bob? And he says, because her name's Mary Clark, and she's a Mary Clark, like Bob Cratchit. But my editor didn't think it was that funny, so I took it out. But it wasn't so much the joke or the punchline, it was just the fact that I really liked him calling her Bob all the way through, and her not knowing why, and being really more and more annoyed.
Because it's annoying as hell, of course. Yeah. Or like when people would mispronounce your name and then never try to correct it.
Yeah, that might happen sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so the holidays, well upon us, it comes with its own emotional weight. And it's so funny. I said to my wife the other day, and I didn't mean it quite the way it came out, maybe just a little bit. I'm like, oh, geez, Christmas. And she's like, well, what are you, Scrooge? I'm like, no, it's the over commercialization and the way they start in October instead of December. And, everything is super cheesy. And then, then of course you bring in the politics and everything is more expensive and blah, blah, blah. I think part of it is we've lost the charm and the innocence, which this book kind of brings back in its own kind of way in the middle of a whodunit. Which
While everyone's being slaughtered.
Yeah. It's a lovely holiday where everyone gets bludgeoned with a knife.
God bless us, everyone.
Everyone. But so it's really, the holidays are on us anyway. I don't want to get off on that. It's expectations, it's family strained, it's traditions. Oh, no, that's your version of Christmas. No, but this is mine and this is the right one, blah, blah, blah. So how much of that undercurrent, if any, and again, I don't want to be, putting things in your mind, but that undercurrent did you want in the story? Like, in other words, is the Emporium trap purely external, or, and this is how I got a little cerebral on you, was it more of like a metaphor for those inner prisons that people build around the festive facade, which we all kind of do? So yeah, I need to get on the couch for this. Thank you.
I think I did enjoy kind of, so my main character, Mary, is very cynical. And I did enjoy like exercising that and sort of exploring, like Mary, basically, as you go through the book, you kind of find out that her family's kind of not particularly, they're a bit cold, they're not particularly interested in her. So like when everyone else is running off to their families and having that sort of traditional family Christmas, she's got nothing, and hence she's kind of over attached to her to her best friend Ross, and wants to make more of their relationship. And I enjoyed sort of like suggesting that not everyone does have this kind of typical Christmas, and most of the people in the Emporium, they're not going to have a typical Christmas because they're lonely in some way, or there's there's loss, or there's sort of family estrangement or something like that. So yeah, it was quite good to explore that not everyone has this idealized Christmas. In fact, most people don't really.
No, I guess I did when I was younger. It's funny. I'm just now remembering your first book, The 12 Days of Murder, came across my desk. I think it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Year before, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 years. Okay, it
Yeah.
felt more like that. And I apologize for not snagging that opportunity then. But, I'm going to go back to this cover. First of all, I love covers. If you listen to the show, you know this. So, see, it's all warm and cozy, and you can just about hear the clip-clop of horse carriages in the distance, and the clinking of tea cups and all this charm. When murder and mayhem is going on right behind those friggin' closed doors. I love that juxtaposition. Now, it does make me wonder, because correct me if I'm wrong, so I need to look this up. So I love your
got this
solution.
One right here if you want to see the cover again.
Yes. Well, what I was going to say is these are the only 2 books you've written. Is that true?
No. No. So I had 2 books out for young adults first. They came out in lockdown. So my first debut novel came out in 2021. And it was called The Girl Who ... And then Dead Lucky was my second one that came out in 2022. They both came out UK only. It was, YA is difficult. Christmas is not Christmas. Sorry, it wasn't Christmas. But YA is difficult. COVID was difficult. So then I started writing adult books. I kept telling everyone that I was writing adult crime, and everyone thought it was something really dodgy, like, 50 Shades of Poirot or something, which would actually be an interesting writing project for someone else, but not me. So yeah, then I started to write this, I started to write 12 Days of Murder, which came out in 2023 in the UK and in the US. Then Murder at the Christmas Emporium, and I've got another one out in the UK this year, which will be out in the US next year, hopefully.
Is it another Christmas book?
It is. It is Scrooge Solves Crime. So that's coming up next year.
Oh my goodness. So you have this deep-seated fascination with dark things at a happy time.
There is, I mean, it's actually a massive tradition that goes back before Dickens. Like when Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, he wrote it because people used to sit around the fire on Christmas Eve and tell ghost stories. And, that's what people did. And I think there is this psychological thing about, so the whole point of Christmas, pre-Christianity, the point of having a midwinter festival is to remind people that there's light and that, the good times are coming and that there will be, the sun again, there will be, food again, and people save and save and save, and they save up for their, all their supplies, and they have a lovely big binge over the Yuletide or Christmas, midwinter, whatever people were calling it. And then so they're in the middle of all this massive comfort, this bubble of comfort in the middle of winter. You've got this tiny little dot of darkness because it's when people feel safe to talk about it. So there's like dark, and then there's light, and then there's dark. And I always find that really interesting.
Well, I was going to say, little tiny dot of darkness in some people's world is a big cavern of blackness
in my
in
heart.
Yours. Yeah, in your heart.
What can I say?
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And people, you tell people what you're writing and their eyes light up.
Yeah.
And that sort of reaction I could definitely get used to. So, if people want to read it, I'm going to keep writing it. I would like just once to have a book launch in summer where I'm not worrying about people not being able to get to my book launch because there's a hurricane.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's all good.
Well, I think you're in control of that destiny, aren't you? And what would that summer tale be?
Oh, there's so many ideas and so many genres. Crime-wise, I've got, I want to lean into my Italian half, and I want to expense the research trips. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Yeah.
No, I want to lean into my Italian half, and I want to write something. I did have this idea about con artists because I'm obsessed with con artists set on a private island off the coast of Italy. You might see that one day, maybe not. I'm not sure.
It's fun. All right. I know we just met, but I'm going to share something with you. And this just happened inside of the last 60 days. So my wife and I, we went from London to Corsica to Sardinia and then back to Corsica for about 5 more days. And when I'm sitting in Corsica, so I'm going to give something away here, but it's kind of fun. So we're sitting here. I think it's lunch. Everything is perfect. The wind is perfect. The food is perfect. The sun, everything's perfect. And this clan of people come in, and it's headed up by this woman who was rather loud and a bit obnoxious. I assume she was an American. And she's bossing all these guys around, and I thought it was just kind of funny. Nothing was quite right for her. So after they left, I turned to my wife and I said, she's watching me watch them. And she goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I've got an idea for this story. She's a con artist. They're all cons. And here's the story." And I went to break it down. And she goes, "Ooh, I love that." So when you said that, it triggered my mind. What is it about us that is it our fascination of whacked out personalities? I think about the talented Mr. Ripley, probably one of the best con stories ever.
Yeah.
And just the way that they move through life and manipulate to get what they want, irregardless of what everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the best portrayals, actually, because, I reread it over the summer and it just really stuck with me because he's just like in the same way that I was saying, he doesn't question it. There's no kind of, and he's not even thinking, he's not consciously going, "Oh, I'm jealous of Dickie, so I'm going to take everything he has."
Right.
He just does it because that's the thing to do. Like he does, there's no other way for him to be. And that's really interesting.
Yeah. And all, even right up to the very tail end, you think, okay, well, he's going to get caught or this will end.
Yeah.
But the charade
Nope.
it never
15
ends.
more books.
Right.
Or however many. I don't know how many she wrote, but.
Well, before I wrap, I want to go back because you were talking about writing, and I apologize for not knowing more of your books, but it wasn't in the front of this book. But you began as a journalist, which I think is cool. So you're working in women's magazines. Now, you go from interviewing real life people with extraordinary stories. How has that background? And it seems like a really duh question, but bear with me because I'd like to again break down the process. How has that background working in interviewing women's magazines and so forth, journalists, affected your fiction world?
Hugely. So I started out so I went on to like Cosmopolitan and Good Housekeeping, and I worked for Condé Nast for a bit. So I did the glossy side of things, but I started out on the kind of magazine and supermarket that has, Elvis Ate My Hamster. And they were just, you met such a variety of people. And back in the day, I am super old. There was no Zoom, and there was there was internet just about. When I first went to the office, we didn't have email. We just had intranet. I was going home and using my own Hotmail to kind of email like potential interviewees, but they didn't have email either. A lot of them didn't have phones. We just had to send them telegrams. That's how old I am. But anyway, so it meant that I had got to interview people face to face, and I got to sit on their sofa and sometimes like wonder where that stain came from, and sit on their sofa and listen to them and think like, and listen to how they reacted completely differently to how I would to whatever awful, horrible thing had happened to them. I mean, I heard just such bravery from people and such kind of it just taught me that everyone reacts differently, and it got me obsessed with character because, that some people would just do something. And it was actually my job to say, why did you do that thing? Why didn't you think that's illegal? Or why didn't you think, if I do that, it'll actually hurt me more than it'll hurt him? Or, I got to ask those questions that you want to ask people, because, I had to ask it on behalf of the readers. And it did like really feed into kind of why I'm so interested in characters and I like reading about people that are nothing like me, or who live lives that are completely different to mine. And I think that sort of came from that as well.
It's so funny because you're making me think of something. My wife refers to this fascination she calls it a people magazine moment because she works in a real high stress job. And so when it's too much, she just like scrolls through either People magazine or those kind of magazines that you're familiar with right at the end cap at a grocery store. Like you just said, wait, Elvis really did eat his what? And, and I don't know what that is, but I say to people who go, I don't know how to come up with any ideas for a new book. I'm like, go to a grocery store, pick up one of those end cap magazines, flip through it, and you got about 30 ideas just banging at your brain,
Yeah.
Anyway.
It was really interesting, and it did make me my first book, Girl Who Was Very, I aimed for a lot of realism in that book. It was about real teenagers living a real life. And actually I struggled for a couple of years because, it took me 10 years to write my first book. It's just struggled for a couple of years with the concept even that she would do anything like that someone wouldn't do in real life, but it was a thriller. So I had to do it in the end. But so I became really, really obsessed with everything being really hyper realistic. And then I wrote Murder at the Christmas Emporium, which is not gritty. It's a thing that is unlikely to happen in the real world, but hopefully I make it believable.
Man, I would almost say I agree with you, except for the fact that I watch some people do some crazy, batshit crazy
That
stuff.
is true.
And then I go, no, you know what? Yeah, that could be a story because they just did it for real in real life. All right, as we wrap, I want to do this. I always ask my readers and writers, as you know, what is their best writing advice? So now, a handful of books in, if someone said, which I'm asking you right now, what is that best writing advice? What would you tell our illustrious listener?
Okay, so I think, I'm sorry, my dog's going crazy.
It's okay.
I think, so, I mean, I've listened to a few people before and they say, you know, just write the thing, which is true because if it doesn't exist, you can't fix it. But I found a really interesting thing the other day, which really explains why I managed to finish the book. And I remind myself every time I'm struggling with another book. And that is basically, there was a guy on a podcast who was talking about willpower and how to concentrate on, you know, getting fit or whatever. And he said, your brain, when you are trying to do the thing, your brain will start telling you reasons why you shouldn't do the thing. And it will start telling you reasons why you're not good at the thing. And it will start telling you that actually maybe you should do the thing tomorrow when you're more in the mood for it. And you should do, you know, you should put it off until you've done some more research. Maybe you should empty the gunk out of the dishwasher instead. And it will tell you all of this stuff. And if you don't listen to it, then you will do the thing. But it's part of the process. It's a thing that your brain does as part of the process of trying to break your willpower. So once you realize that this is normal and natural and you're like, oh, my brain's doing the thing, you can actually finish.
Love that. And you know what and we've talked about this at length on this show. When I hit that bubble, I call it a bubble, where I just go, oh, geez, what happens next? I have found the best way, and I do this with sleeping too. Like if you're having trouble sleeping, don't lay there, toss and turn, get up, do something, preferably not look at your phone, and then go back to bed. So when I get stuck on something, I just get up, I go out, I take a short walk right around the building, come back in, fresh air. I'm like, oh, now I'm ready again. So it's kind of very similar to what you're saying. I want to do this. Folks, once again, the book is Murder at the Christmas Emporium. Andreina Cordani is the lovely, talented, and slightly crazy, in a very good way, author. Yeah, I mean that all the best way. But it is such a fun read. It does bend genres, as we mentioned, and I think it's something you'll like, so pick it up for the holidays. I'm so glad we finally got together.
It's been really fun. Thank you so much, and thanks for reading.
Absolutely.
Your #1 podcast for stories that thrill, the thrill